Do you know your soul purpose? Have you ever stopped and asked yourself why you are here? Maybe sometimes you feel a quiet restlessness inside you, a little tug that you can't quite put your finger on. It's subtle, almost like a quiet whisper in the stillness of your mind, and yet it's incredibly powerful. It is the call of your soul, urging you to discover your true purpose in life. And this call often comes when we are in the darkest moments of our lives. In the midst of chaos, confusion, or loss, this call rises up like a light to guide us out of the darkness. But let's be honest, hearing that call isn't always easy. Maybe you've felt it before, as a sense of unease or a nagging feeling that there's something bigger out there for you. But then life gets in the way, with all its distractions, responsibilities, and worries. You get lost in the day-to-day noise, external expectations, and internal struggles. This is normal. We all have moments when our inner voice is almost completely drowned out. But this is where the secret lies. It is in those moments of silence, when everything around us seems shrouded in darkness, that the soul whispers the loudest. Now, how often have you found yourself in the midst of conflict? These conflicts, whether they come from the outside or arise from within you, are not mere coincidences. They are signposts. They show you where there are inconsistencies within you, where you may be carrying old wounds, or where you repeatedly fall into the same destructive patterns. These conflicts are a mirror of your inner world, and they challenge you to look deeper. They challenge you not to run away, but to pause and rediscover your own inner compass. Think of this compass as an instrument that puts you on the right course. But sometimes it is obscured by the fog of past experiences or fears. It is your task to cleanse this compass and bring it back into harmony with your true self. What does that mean exactly? It means that you have to let go. Yes, you heard right. Let go. Old patterns that no longer serve you need to go. Maybe it's negative thoughts about yourself or entrenched beliefs about what you can or should do. These things keep you stuck. They bind you to a version of yourself that you should have left behind long ago. Letting go can feel like saying goodbye to an old friend. It's painful, yes, but it's necessary. Without this letting go, you will never really be able to hear the call of your soul. It takes courage and inner strength to leave the old paths, especially when you don't know where the new path will lead. But this is where the real journey begins. When you are ready to leave the old paths and embrace the unknown, a new door opens. It is as if you are taking the first step on a new, as yet undiscovered path. You don't know where it will lead, but you know that it will take you to your soul's purpose, and that is the crucial point, the willingness to make a new start. Are you ready to take that first step? Are you ready to follow the call of your soul, even if the path is uncertain and the destination still lies in the mist? This first step requires trust. Trust in yourself, trust in the journey, and trust in the universe. The biggest challenge is not the uncertainty, but the decision to begin this journey in the first place. But it is in this decision that the power to discover your soul's purpose lies. You don't have to know everything right away. You just have to be ready to set off, open and curious about what you will encounter. Your soul is calling you. Can you hear it? Now we enter a phase that everyone goes through on their soul journey, the fog of doubt. Maybe you know those moments when everything around you seems uncertain and unclear. You don't know if you're on the right path or if you're making any progress at all. Doubt is a natural part of this journey, but it often feels like an insurmountable obstacle. But let me tell you something. Doubt and uncertainty are not your enemies. They are actually guides. As uncomfortable as they may be, they challenge you to look deeper and trust, not in what you see, but in what you feel. And that is the key. Imagine a thick fog around you. You can't see where you're going, and every step feels like you're stepping into an invisible hole. What would you do in such a situation? Many people would stand still, not move for fear of making a mistake. But this standstill is precisely where the danger lies. It's as if the fog envelops you even more the longer you hesitate. This is where courage comes into play, the courage to keep going, even if you can't see the path clearly. It is not necessary to know the entire path in order to move forward. Sometimes it is enough just to see the next step. And often, when you take that one step, the fog begins to clear a little. It's a decision you make, the decision to trust that each step will bring you closer to your destiny. Courage does not mean not being afraid. Courage means acting in spite of fear because you trust that the path will form beneath your feet, even if you can't see it now. This courage to move forward in the fog is an essential part of the spiritual journey, because the fog of doubt will appear again and again. It is a companion on the path to self-discovery, and instead of fearing it, we can learn to see it as a sign that we are entering unknown territory, and that is where our growth lies. When you find yourself in the fog, remember, you don't have to know the entire path. You just have to take the next step. But where does the confidence to take that next step come from when everything seems uncertain? This confidence comes from within yourself. It is like an inner light that may sometimes flicker weakly, but never goes out completely. Self-confidence is your greatest source of light in the darkness. It is trust in your abilities, in your intuition, and in the process of life itself. But this confidence must be nurtured. It doesn't grow on its own, especially not in times when external circumstances seem threatening or the ground beneath you seems to be shaking. So how can you strengthen this trust? The first step is to realize that you have it inside you, even in the darkest moments. Confidence is not something that comes from the outside. It grows within you. Sometimes it is put to the test by challenges, but each of these trials gives you the opportunity to strengthen it further. It's about believing in yourself, even when the rest of the world makes you doubt. And this is where the magic begins. The more you trust in yourself, the brighter the light that shows you the way. Another important aspect is your inner voice. This voice speaks quietly, almost like a whisper in your heart, and is often drowned out by the noise of everyday life. But the more you listen to it, the clearer it becomes. Your intuition, that gentle, inner guidance, is one of the most powerful forces on your journey. But how do you hear it? How do you access this voice that shows you the way when everything around you is uncertain? Practices such as meditation, journaling, and mindfulness can help you. These tools allow you to find the silence where your inner voice speaks loudest. Meditation brings you into the moment, allows you to tune out the noise around you, and creates space for clarity. When you sit down and breathe consciously, the fog of doubt often becomes more translucent, and you begin to see the path more clearly. Journaling helps you to organize your thoughts, express your feelings, and recognize patterns that may remain hidden in your everyday life. And mindfulness, the conscious experience of the present moment, puts you in touch with your intuition because it shows you what is really going on inside you. With time and practice, you will find that your intuition not only speaks to you in quiet moments, but also in the hustle and bustle of everyday life. It is the voice that tells you when something is wrong, that warns you when you are off course, and that encourages you when you're on the right path. It is your compass that helps you to move forward in the fog, even if you can't yet see the horizon. And so, the next time you find yourself in the fog of doubt, pause. Take a deep breath. Remind yourself that you carry the light within you that illuminates the path, step by step. Trust that every doubt, every uncertainty brings you closer to your soul's purpose. You don't have to know everything to move forward. You just have to be ready to take the next step. Now we move into one of the deepest and most challenging phases of the soul purpose journey, shadow work. Have you ever felt like you want to move forward, but something is holding you back? It's as if you're running into an invisible wall, a wall that you can't see, but can clearly feel. This wall is your own shadow side. They are the dark, often hidden parts of yourself that you would perhaps rather ignore. But this is where the real work begins. Because in order to live your full potential and fulfill your soul's purpose, you have to confront these shadows. You have to confront them, understand them, and finally integrate them. The journey to fulfilling your soul's purpose is not a straightforward path. It is a spiral that leads us back to ourselves again and again. And on this path, we encounter our shadows, the parts of ourselves that we may have suppressed or overlooked. These shadows can take the form of fears, unresolved traumas, or deep-rooted beliefs that hold us back. Perhaps it is the fear of failure, the feeling of not being enough, or constant self-criticism that stands in our way. And often, when we encounter these shadows, we feel resistance. These resistances are like inner voices that want to tell us that it is safer to stay where we are, in our comfort zone, in the familiar, even if the familiar limits us. Resistance and self-sabotage are particularly strong in difficult times. They often show up when we are on the verge of experiencing a breakthrough. It's almost as if our own subconscious is afraid of change, even if that change brings us closer to our true purpose. Do you recognize this? Maybe you're about to make an important decision in your life, but suddenly doubts arise, and you find 1,000 reasons why you shouldn't do it. This is the inner resistance that tries to keep you on the old paths. The first step to overcoming this resistance is to recognize and accept it. Resistance and shadows are not your enemies. They are the gatekeepers of your growth. They show you where you still have work to do, where you still need healing. When you look at these resistances with compassion and understanding, instead of condemning or repressing them, you begin to diffuse their power. It's like giving them permission to be part of your journey instead of seeing them as obstacles. This is where acceptance comes into play. You can't fight your shadows and expect them to go away. Instead, you must learn to embrace and integrate them. These dark aspects of yourself are not there to hold you back, but they carry important lessons. By embracing them, you create space for healing and transformation. This shadow work takes courage because it forces you to look at yourself in a way that can be uncomfortable. But it is precisely in this uncomfortable space that the possibility for profound change lies. Imagine you have a room inside you that has been in the dark for a long time. Everything you have banished there, old wounds, fears, unloved parts of yourself, has accumulated in this room. You may have believed that it is easier to keep these things in the dark instead of bringing them out into the light. But what if you had the courage to enter that space? What if you were willing to pierce the darkness and bring those parts of yourself into the light? This is the moment of integration. By consciously confronting your shadows, you begin to transform them. The dark aspects that once blocked you become your teachers. They show you where you can grow, where you need to become stronger, and where you can heal yourself. Shadow work is an alchemical process. It transforms darkness into light, the unconscious into consciousness. It's almost like picking up the pieces of old patterns and creating something new and beautiful out of them. This transformation is powerful. You begin to let go of the old patterns and beliefs that once held you back. You realize that the shadows are no longer your enemies, but part of your story, part of who you are and who you are becoming. And in this realization lies a deep, liberation. When you have integrated your shadows, you will feel whole, not perfect but complete. This wholeness is the key to fulfilling your soul's purpose. Shadow work is therefore not a task that you can complete once and then tick off. It is an ongoing process of self-exploration that leads you deeper and deeper into your essence. Every shadow you integrate brings you one step closer to your true self, to the version of yourself that is able to live to its full potential. By accepting your shadows and integrating them into your life, you clear the way for the light, and this light will show you the way on your journey to your soul's purpose. We have now arrived at a point in the journey that brings profound change, the inner ascent. It is that magical moment when you begin to see the light through the darkness. After working your way through the fog of doubt and the shadows of your inner self, you now gain a new perspective, not just on your past, but on your entire life. This ascension is not a sudden elevation, but a gradual awakening where you begin to see the bigger picture. It is as if you're climbing a mountain, and suddenly, you no longer see only the difficulties and obstacles in front of you, but the vast panorama of life spread out before your eyes. When you look back at the darkness you have passed through, you can see that it was no accident. Every pain, every challenge, every doubt was there for a reason. They were not there to destroy you, but to shape you, to prepare you for the inner ascent. And now, as you rise to this new level of consciousness, you realize that there was always a bigger picture, a picture that you may not have been able to see in the darkest moments, but that was always there, in the background, waiting for you to recognize it. This ascension brings you a new clarity. You see that your journey has not only been about discovering your soul purpose, but also about connecting with a higher wisdom. In difficult times, we are often so focused on ourselves that we forget that we are part of a much larger network of energy and consciousness. But now, a new chapter is opening. It is the moment when you realize that you are connected to universal forces that support you on your journey. This is not an abstract idea. It is a deep, spiritual reality that you can experience through meditation, contemplation, and inner reflection. Imagine you are a drop in the ocean, and yet you are connected to the whole ocean. This connection to universal wisdom makes you realize that you were never really alone. Even in the most difficult moments, when you felt isolated and lost, you were always part of a greater plan. This higher plan of life shows you that there is a deeper order even in seeming chaos. Meditation is a powerful tool to help you open up to this wisdom. When you become still, you not only find peace, but also the realization that everything you have experienced had a higher purpose. You realize that the challenges of your life have not taken you off your path. They have been your path. This trust in the higher plan of life brings you a deep inner peace. You begin to feel a kind of peace within you that you may not have previously thought possible. You understand that even the most difficult moments were part of your growth. This realization allows you to develop confidence even in times of uncertainty. Because you now know that even if the path seems unclear, it will reveal itself step by step as long as you continue to trust your inner voice and the universe. With this new perspective, your true self also begins to unfold. In the darkness, you may have hidden or suppressed parts of yourself for fear they would not be accepted or they could hurt you. But now that you have emerged from this darkness, you realize that these very parts of yourself are the keys to your soul's purpose. Your authentic self is not something you have to create, it is something you have to reveal. It's been there all along, hidden under layers of fear, doubt, and self-protection. With each new insight you gain, it becomes clearer who you really are. Living this true self brings with it immense freedom. It's like throwing off the shackles that have been holding you back and finally starting to live the life you were always meant to live. This freedom is not just internal, it also shows up in your external world. You begin to realize more clearly what your soul purpose is and how you can manifest it in your daily life. And that is true ascension. Realizing that your life is not just made up of random events, but that there is a deep, inner order that holds everything together. Living your true self means being in harmony with this higher order. It means taking off the mask and being the person you have always been deep down. With this new clarity and freedom, you enter a new phase of your journey. It is a stage that is no longer characterized by fear and insecurity, but by confidence, joy, and a deep sense of fulfillment. The inner ascent leads you to a perspective from which you not only see the bigger picture of your life, but also the bigger picture of the universe. You begin to understand that everything is connected: your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, and the world around you. And with this understanding, your sense of responsibility grows. You realize that your soul's purpose is not only to find yourself, but also to have a positive impact on the world. This is the moment when you are ready to fully live your true self and put your soul purpose into action. You have crossed the darkness, you have confronted and integrated your shadows, and now, with a new awareness, you are rising into a life filled with light, clarity, and purpose. You are ready. Now that you have recognized your soul purpose, the next crucial step is upon you: the call to the outside world. It is not enough to keep this realization inside you. It wants to be carried out into the world to manifest in your life and the lives of others. This is where the real challenge begins: to bring your soul's purpose from the realm of the spirit into the material world. This requires courage and determination, as it often means acting against societal norms or against your own deep-rooted fears. And yet, this is the very step that completes your inner journey. It is the moment when you allow your true calling to come alive in your life. Imagine that you have discovered a precious gift, something that has touched you deeply and that you now want to share with others. But perhaps you are still hesitating. Maybe you wonder if the world is ready for what you have to give, or if you are even ready to take this step. These doubts are normal. It is the uncertainty of the unknown that often holds us back. But this is exactly where manifestation begins. Not when you have planned everything perfectly, but when you are ready to take the first step, even if the path is still uncertain. The manifestation of your soul's mission begins with small steps. You don't have to know exactly how everything will happen right from the start. It is enough if you have the courage to put one foot in front of the other. Maybe it's a small change in your everyday life, a new project you start, or a decision you make that is more in line with your true calling. These small steps lead to greater trust in yourself and in the universe. And suddenly, doors open that previously seemed closed. New opportunities appear, new people enter your life, and you realize that every action, no matter how small it may seem, brings you closer to the full manifestation of your soul's purpose. However, it is important that you understand that manifestation is not a one-time act. It is an ongoing process that requires patience and dedication. The spiritual insights and knowledge you have gained on your journey must be integrated into your everyday life. The spiritual knowledge you have gained must not remain in the abstract. It must take shape in the real world, in your decisions, in your dealings with others, and in the way you live your life. This is the process by which your soul purpose becomes a tangible part of your reality. It is as if you are planting the seeds of your spiritual experiences and nurturing them through daily actions and choices until they grow into a visible, powerful reality. You may wonder how you can apply the spiritual knowledge you have gained in your everyday life. Start by becoming aware of how you want to act and react in every moment of your life. Use the wisdom you have gained in quiet moments to make your decisions. Let it be your guide when you encounter challenges. This takes practice because it is easy to fall back into old patterns and be overwhelmed by the demands of the outside world. But with each conscious step, you integrate more of your spiritual truth into your daily life. This integration creates a new balance between your inner world and the outside world. While you have learned to look within and connect with your soul, it is now time to harmonize this inner knowledge with the outer world. This balance is crucial because it prevents you from falling into extremes. Some people tend to withdraw completely into the spiritual world and lose touch with material reality. Others lose themselves in the external pursuit of success and forget their spiritual truth. Your task is to balance between these two worlds, to bring your spiritual knowledge into everyday life while remaining anchored in the material world. Manifesting your soul purpose, therefore, requires a constant return to yourself and what is really important. It requires that you are not only spiritually fulfilled, but also materially fulfilled. This balance is not a contradiction. On the contrary, the more you bring your soul purpose into the world, the more you will find that the outer world serves you in new and surprising ways. The things you once considered separate, the spiritual and the material, begin to flow together and complement each other. And so, your journey that once led inwards becomes a journey that works outwards. You will realize that your soul purpose is not only to fulfill yourself, but also to serve others. The moment you begin to bring your soul purpose into the world, you become a beacon for others. Your courage to walk your path inspires others to do the same. Your willingness to live your inner truth also opens up the possibility for others to discover their own truth. This is the true manifestation of your soul's purpose. You are not only changing your own life, but also the lives of those around you. Remember that every step you take on this path is an act of manifestation. Even if the path is uncertain and the challenges seem great, you carry the light within you that illuminates the path. You are called to bring your soul purpose into the world, not just for yourself, but for the world that is waiting to be touched by your truth. Now we come to the point where the circle closes, the fulfillment of your soul's purpose. It is the moment when everything you have worked on, everything you have lived through and transformed, manifests into a new reality. Imagine standing in a place you once only dreamed of. The fruits of your journey begin to emerge more clearly, not only in your inner life, but also in the outer world. Success, satisfaction, fulfillment. These are the tangible results of the work you've done. But these rewards are much more than material achievements. They are the expression of your inner growth and your dedication to your true purpose. Perhaps you now feel that everything you have been through had a deeper meaning. All the doubts, the shadow work, the inner ascent, they were not in vain. They have led you here, to this point where you have not only realized your soul purpose for yourself, but it can also be felt in the world around you. You have created a new reality, one that is in alignment with your innermost essence. This new reality is not only a reflection of your inner transformation, but it is also evident in the relationships, the projects, and the successes you are now experiencing in your life. But with this fulfillment also comes a new responsibility. The fulfillment of your soul's mission is not the end, but a new beginning. Now that you have walked the path and reaped the rewards, you are called upon to pass on what you have learned. It is as if the universe is now asking you to act as a leader, perhaps not in the traditional sense, but as someone who inspires others through their presence and actions. Your soul purpose not only carries you, but has the potential to touch those around you and lead them on their own journey. Imagine you are a lighthouse. Your light, ignited by your dedication to your soul purpose, now shines far beyond your own life. Other people who may still be in the fog of doubt or the darkness of shadow work are drawn to your light. You are now in a position to show them the way, not by telling them what to do, but by simply living your authentic self. This responsibility is an honor, but also a challenge, because it asks you to continue to stand in your truth, even when the path becomes difficult again. It is important to realize that the spiritual journey never ends. Even if you have fulfilled your soul's mission, this does not mean that the path is over. On the contrary, life remains a constant evolution. Each new phase brings new challenges, new opportunities to grow, and new depths of knowledge. Your soul purpose will evolve with you, adapting and changing as you reach new levels of consciousness. This constant flow of development and change is what makes life so rich and meaningful. There may be moments when you feel like you're back at square one, like the fog of doubt is returning or the shadow work is re-entering your life. But now you realize that these are just new layers of growth. The challenges ahead of you are not the same as before. They are deeper, more subtle, but also more rewarding, because you are now approaching them with a new awareness. You are beginning to understand that fulfilling your soul's purpose is not a static thing. It is a living, breathing process that continues to unfold, just like you. And eventually, after all that, we return to who we always were. The circle closes. You realize that the journey to fulfill your soul purpose is ultimately a return to source, to the pure consciousness from which everything originates. In fulfilling your soul purpose, you realize that you were never truly separate from the source of life, from the universal wisdom that permeates everything. You have always been a part of the whole, even if you may not have seen this in the most difficult moments. This realization brings with it a deep calm. You realize that you no longer need to search for something outside of yourself. Everything you have ever looked for has always been within you. The soul journey always leads us back to this point, to the realization that we are already complete and perfect. The fulfillment of the soul's task is therefore not the achievement of a goal, but the rediscovery of who you really are. At the end of the journey, you realize that you always return to the source. It is a constant cycle, from darkness to light, from uncertainty to clarity, from separation to unity. And now that you have gone through this cycle once, you can move on with a new awareness and a new depth. You know that the journey does not end, but that it continues in you, in the world, and in the infinite expanse of the universe. The circle closes, and in this wholeness, you find true fulfillment.